The husband betrayed. The pregnant wife filed for divorce. Years later, a diagnosis sent him into a panic. Michael Thompson never thought silence could hurt so much. On that February night, sitting on the leather sofa in the living room he had worked so hard to afford, he watched Natalie prepare dinner with slow, careful movements, one hand protecting the 6-month curve of her pregnancy beneath a mustard-colored knit sweater. She hadn't looked at him all evening, not even when he arrived at 11 p.m., with excuses about a late meeting with investors that no longer sounded credible, even to himself. "Have you eaten?" Natalie asked without turning around, stirring something in a skillet. "I'm not hungry." "As you wish." Just 3 words. Michael clenched his fists. He knew that tone. It was the same one his mother used when his father came home drunk on Fridays. Polite, distant, empty. He stood up and walked to the kitchen. Natalie still had her back to him, her hair tied in a messy ponytail. He noticed a smudge of blue paint on her wrist, probably from the art classes she taught at the elementary school, and something inside him twisted. "Nat, we need to talk." "Not tonight, Michael." "When? Then?" She turned off the stove and turned around slowly. Her eyes were dry, but there was something worse than tears in her gaze. Resignation. "Do you really want to talk? Or would you rather we keep pretending I don't know where you've been for the past few weeks?" The air grew thick. Michael opened his mouth, but the words caught in his throat like broken glass. Natalie, things aren't what they seem." "No." Her voice didn't waver. "Then explain to me why yesterday I found a receipt from a restaurant in Greenwich, Connecticut, one you've never taken me to for 2 people. Wine you don't drink. Dessert you don't eat." Michael felt the floor shift beneath his feet. It was a business dinner. "Business?" Natalie let out a dry, bitter laugh. "Business with the scent of another woman's perfume on your collar? With texts you delete before I can see them? With calls you take on the balcony as if I were deaf? You're exaggerating." "I wish I were." Natalie brought a hand to her belly as if for support. "I wish I were crazy, Michael. I wish this was all just pregnancy paranoia. But it's not." Michael took a step toward her, but Natalie stepped back. "Don't touch me." "Nat, please." "Who is she?" The question landed like a hammer. Michael remained silent, and that silence was all the answer Natalie needed. "I see." Her voice was strangely calm. "How long?" "It's not important." "How long, Michael?" 3 months. Natalie closed her eyes. 3 months. Right after they confirmed the baby was a boy. Right when she had started imagining the 3 of them together, building something worthwhile. "Do you love her?" Michael took too long to answer. "I don't know." Natalie nodded slowly, as if she had just understood something fundamental about the man in front of her. "Then we have nothing more to talk about." She took off her apron, left it neatly folded on the counter, and walked toward the bedroom. Michael followed her. "What are you doing?" Natalie opened the closet and pulled out a small suitcase. She started packing clothes without looking at him. A pair of jeans, t-shirts, underwear with precise, mechanical movements. "I'm going to my mother's." "And the baby?" Natalie stopped. She looked at him with a mixture of disbelief and contempt that Michael would never forget. "The baby is coming with me, because I will never make him feel like he's an inconvenience in my life." "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to." She snapped the suitcase shut. "You said it every time you came home late, every time you complained that all I talked about was the pregnancy, every time you made me feel like I was a burden for wanting to build a family with you." Michael felt something break inside his chest, but pride kept him from moving. "You can't just leave like this. We have to think this through." "I've already thought it through." Natalie picked up the suitcase and walked to the door. "My lawyer will be in touch with you tomorrow." "Lawyer?" Michael froze. "Are you filing for divorce?" Natalie turned in the doorway. There were tears on her cheeks, but her voice was as firm as steel. "I'm not raising my son in a house where love became a lie." The door closed with a soft click. Michael was left alone in the middle of the living room, surrounded by expensive furniture and a deafening silence. And for the first time in his life, he understood that there were things money could neither buy nor get back. Rebecca Vance was not the kind of woman who went unnoticed. When she walked into the conference room at Thompson Capital Partners, his financial consulting firm, that March afternoon, everyone present looked up. She wore a tailored burgundy suit that seemed custom-made, heels that clicked with authority on the hardwood floor, and a leather portfolio under her arm. Michael watched her from his office through the glass wall. Rebecca met his gaze with a calculated professional smile, but with something else underneath, something he had learned to recognize in recent weeks. Pure, strategic interest. "She's the new tax advisor Bergman hired. His partner, Ethan," explained, approaching with 2 cups of coffee. "He says she's a shark with numbers. And what's she doing here? She's here to review the accounts for the Hudson Yards real estate project. Apparently, the IRS is looking at us under a microscope." Michael nodded, never taking his eyes off her. Rebecca spoke with confidence, gestured minimally, took precise notes. She didn't smile to please, nor did she seek approval. And that, in some twisted way, he found attractive. 3 hours later, when the meeting ended and the rest of the team had left, Rebecca remained, organizing her papers in the room. Michael walked in. "Need anything else?" She looked up, closing her portfolio calmly. "Depends. Are you offering professional or personal help?" The question caught him off guard. "Excuse me?" Rebecca leaned against the table, crossing her arms. "I've seen the way you look at me, Michael, and it's not the way a CEO looks at a consultant." He should have walked away, should have said something polite and professional, should have thought of Natalie, of the baby who would be born in 3 months. But he didn't. "You're always this direct?" Rebecca picked up her purse without rushing. "Life's too short for detours. I'm married." "I know." There was no judgment in her voice, only acknowledgement. "But you don't seem happy." Michael laughed without humor. "Is it that obvious?" "To someone who knows how to look, yes." Rebecca walked to the door but stopped beside him. "If you ever need a drink and a conversation with no strings attached, you know where to find me." And she was gone. Michael stood motionless, his heart racing, with a sense of vertigo he hadn't felt in years. That night, he came home to a dark apartment. Natalie no longer lived there. The place smelled stale, of absence. The fridge held only beer and 2-day-old Chinese takeout. The bed was unmade. Natalie's toothbrush was gone from the bathroom. Michael poured himself a whiskey and sat on the sofa. He took out his phone. Rebecca had sent him a message that afternoon with her personal number. "In case you change your mind." He shouldn't. He knew he shouldn't. But he dialed anyway. 2 weeks later, Michael and Rebecca were having dinner at a discreet restaurant in Greenwich. She talked about her travels, her years working in London, the men who had disappointed her, and the opportunities she had seized. "I've never understood women who settle," Rebecca said, cutting a piece of filet mignon with surgical precision. "The world is full of mediocre people who get comfortable. I don't want that." "And what do you want?" "To live well, travel, have interesting conversations with people who understand that ambition isn't a flaw." Michael took a sip of his wine. "Natalie thinks I'm selfish." "Natalie is your wife." "My ex-wife." The word tasted bitter. "Well, she will be soon. We sign the papers next week." Rebecca didn't seem surprised or uncomfortable. "Children?" "1. A boy. Due. In June." "And you're going to be present?" Michael took a moment to answer. "I pay child support every month. $4,000, deposited religiously. It's the minimum the law requires." "But do you see him?" Michael stared at his plate. The steak was perfect, but he had no appetite. "No. Natalie made it clear the money is for Alex, but she doesn't want me around." "And how do you feel?" "Relief." The word escaped on its own. "And guilt. But mostly, relief." Rebecca reached out and touched his hand. "You're not the first man to realize he got married for the wrong reasons." "You've been married?" "Once. It lasted 2 years." She smiled without nostalgia. "I realized I'd rather be alone than be bored." Michael felt something loosen in his chest. With Rebecca, there were no reproaches, no impossible expectations, no late-night crying or conversations about cribs and baby names. Just adult conversation, expensive wine, and the possibility of feeling alive again. That night, for the first time in months, Michael didn't think about Natalie, or the baby, or the silence he had left behind. June arrived with a suffocating heat. Michael received a text from Natalie's mother. "Alex was born yesterday, 7 pounds, 2 ounces. Mother and son are well. Natalie doesn't want you to come. Michael read the message 3 times. Alex. His son's name was Alex Thompson. He left his phone on his office desk and looked out the window. New York City shimmered under the sun, indifferent. Rebecca walked in without knocking, as she always did. Everything okay? Yeah. Just work. She came closer, kissed his temple, and left a file on his desk. I booked the hotel in Miami. We leave on Friday. 2 weeks, just you and me. Michael nodded. Perfect. Rebecca left the office, humming a song. Michael looked back at his phone. The message about Alex was still on the screen, and for a fleeting second, like a flash of lightning, he felt something like regret. But he crushed it, because it was easier to run than to face it. And Rebecca never asked him to be brave. Rebecca never asked about Alex, and Michael silently thanked her for it. 2 years had passed since the boy's birth, and Michael had built a life carefully designed not to think about what he had left behind. He and Rebecca lived in a penthouse on the Upper East Side. Enormous windows, designer furniture, a terrace with city views that she had decorated with plants she never watered, but which a gardener kept immaculate every Thursday. Everything was perfect. Too perfect. Did you call the driver for tonight? Rebecca asked from the bathroom, applying mascara in front of the lighted mirror. Michael looked up from his laptop. Why do we need a driver? The restaurant is 10 minutes away. Rebecca turned with an expression he knew well, barely contained annoyance. Michael, it's the Hamilton Foundation's charity gala. We are not going to arrive in your car as if we're just anyone. My car is a Lexus. Exactly. Anyone. She turned back to the mirror. Besides, I have a Prada dress that cost $2,500. I'm not going to wrinkle it on a 3-year-old leather seat. Michael closed his laptop with more force than necessary. Sometimes I feel like the only thing that matters to you is appearances. Rebecca froze, the mascara wand suspended in midair. Excuse me? Nothing. Forget it. No. She put down the makeup and walked over, crossing her arms. Say it. What's wrong now? Michael sighed. Nothing, Rebecca. It's just that lately, everything seems to revolve around dinners, events, trips. I can't even remember the last time we had a conversation that wasn't about where to go next weekend. Rebecca looked at him as if he had said something incomprehensible. And what did you expect? To stay home watching TV like retirees? No, but I also don't need to be in a different city every weekend to feel good. Ah, Rebecca let out a dry laugh. I get it. You want the boring version, the slippers and sofa life. I want something real. This is real, Michael. She gestured expansively at the penthouse. You and I built this together. A life most people can only dream of. But do you love me? Or do you just love what I give you? The silence that followed was sharp. Rebecca didn't answer right away. She turned around, picked up her clutch, and touched up her lipstick in the mirror. The driver will be here in 20 minutes. Wear the navy blue tie. And she left the room. Michael was left alone, staring at the tie she had mentioned, hanging perfectly pressed in the closet, navy blue. Like everything in his life with Rebecca, elegant, expensive, and completely empty. The gala at the Plaza Hotel was exactly what Michael expected. Superficial conversations, rehearsed laughter, overpriced wine that no one truly appreciated. Rebecca shone among the crowd, charming and strategic, making contacts, securing invitations, ensuring everyone knew who she was. Michael smiled at the appropriate moments, but his mind was elsewhere. Excuse me, Michael? A voice pulled him from his thoughts. It was Eleanor Hughes, an old college classmate he hadn't seen in years. Eleanor, it's been too long. Way too long. She gave him a brief hug. Still in the financial world? Always. And you? Judge. Family court, mostly. Michael felt a strange pang in his chest. That must be tough. It is, but it's rewarding too. Eleanor looked at him curiously. Hey, didn't you have a son? The question hit him like a punch. Yeah, Alex. He's 2. He's doing well. Do you see him often? Michael took a sip of his champagne. No. His mother lives upstate, in Havenwood. We decided it was for the best. Eleanor frowned. Best for whom? For everyone. Michael. Eleanor lowered her voice. I work with this every day. And let me tell you something. Kids don't need perfect parents. They need present parents. It's complicated. It always is. But it's not impossible. Rebecca appeared at that moment, sliding her arm through Michael's with a perfect smile. Darling, the Portuguese ambassador wants to meet you. She glanced at Eleanor with polite indifference. Sorry to steal him away. Eleanor nodded, but before she left, she said to Michael, think about it. That night, back in the penthouse, Michael couldn't sleep. Rebecca slept beside him with a silk mask over her eyes and earplugs. She always slept like that. Said she needed absolute silence. Michael got up and went to the living room. From the terrace, New York seemed like a sea of infinite lights. He pulled out his phone. He had Natalie's number saved, though he never used it. He typed a message, then deleted it. Typed it again. How is Alex? He hit send before he could regret it. The reply came 20 minutes later. He's fine. Why are you asking now? Michael stared at the screen. He didn't have a good answer. Just wanted to know. The 3 dots blinked, disappeared, reappeared. He's learning to talk. He says mama all the time. He doesn't know how to say dada yet. Michael closed his eyes. Can I see him sometime? The reply took longer this time. I don't know, Michael. I don't know if it's a good idea for you to pop in and out of his life whenever you feel like it. I don't want to hurt him. Then be consistent, or don't show up at all. Michael put the phone down on the table. Consistent, a word he had never applied to his life as a father. Behind him, he heard soft footsteps. Rebecca appeared on the terrace, barefoot, her hair disheveled. What are you doing up? Nothing. Couldn't sleep. She leaned against the railing, looking at the city. Was that her? Michael didn't ask how she knew. Yes. And she wants me to be consistent if I'm going to see Alex. Rebecca was silent for a moment. And are you going to be? I don't know. Rebecca turned to him. There was no anger on her face, just something like resignation. You know that if you decide to get involved in that part of your life, everything changes between us, right? Why? Because I didn't sign up to be a stepmother, Michael. Not for shared weekends, not for negotiations with your ex, not for children's birthday parties. I'm not asking you to. Not yet. Rebecca went back inside. But you will. Michael stayed alone on the terrace, and for the first time in 2 years, he wondered if he had chosen the wrong life for the wrong reasons. Michael never went to Havenwood. The months passed, and the message Natalie had sent him was buried under dozens of emails, meetings, and dinners with investors. Rebecca never mentioned their conversation again, and Michael convinced himself it was for the best. Alex was growing up somewhere far from the city, and Michael continued building paper empires in offices with city views. Everything seemed to be working, until it wasn't. It was a Tuesday in November when Michael got the call from his accountant. We have a problem, Michael. What kind of problem? The kind the IRS doesn't forgive. There are irregularities in the tax filings from the last 2 years, invoices that don't add up, transactions that look creative. Michael felt the air grow thin. That's impossible. We go over everything with a fine-tooth comb. Well, someone didn't. And now we're being audited. The word audit landed like a tombstone. Michael hung up and stared at his computer screen. The numbers were starting to not add up. Investments that had seemed solid now showed cracks. Partners who used to answer on the first ring now took days to reply. And Rebecca started asking uncomfortable questions. Is the IRS thing serious? She asked one night as they ate dinner at home. Michael poked at his salad without appetite. It's manageable. Manageable as in, it will be fixed? Or manageable as in, we're going to lose money? Rebecca, now is not the time. She put down her fork with a sharp click. Of course it's the time. Because if this affects your company, it affects me. Michael looked up. You? Yes, Michael. Me. Our life. This? She gestured at the dining room. The crystal glasses, the original painting on the wall. I didn't sign up to live with uncertainty. Nobody signed up for anything. This is real life. Rebecca let out a cold laugh. No, real life is what I left behind when I bet on you. I turned down a job offer in London because you told me we had a future here. And we do. Are you sure? Because lately, it feels like everything is falling apart. Michael got up from the table. I need some air. Rebecca didn't try to stop him. The following months were a slow but steady descent. The audit revealed errors that led to fines that forced Michael to sell part of his stake in the company, investors who withdrew their trust, projects that were canceled. And Rebecca. Rebecca began to change. She no longer planned dinners, she didn't talk about trips, she spent hours on the phone in conversations that ended abruptly when Michael entered the room. "Who were you talking to?" Michael asked one afternoon. "No one important." "Rebecca." "I know when you're lying to me." She looked at him with a mixture of weariness and something akin to disdain. "Do you really want to have this conversation now? You, who have spent years avoiding talking about anything important? What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you're an expert at running away, Michael. You ran from your marriage, you ran from your son, and now you're running from the problems at your company." The words hurt more than Michael wanted to admit. "I didn't run from my son. I did what was best for him." Rebecca let out a bitter laugh. "What was best for him? Or what was more convenient for you?" Michael clenched his fists. "You don't know what you're talking about." "I know exactly what I'm talking about." Rebecca stepped closer, looking at him intently. "You've spent 4 years telling yourself you did the right thing, but the truth is, you took the easy way out. And now that things are getting difficult here too, what are you going to do? Run away again?" "Rebecca." "I'm tired, Michael." Her voice lost its edge. "Tired of waiting for you to be the man I thought you were. And who did you think I was?" She looked at him for a long moment. Someone strong, someone confident, someone who knew what he wanted and fought for it. "I'm still that person." "No, you're not." Rebecca picked up her purse. "I'm going to my sister's for a few days." "When are you coming back?" She paused at the door. "I don't know." And that uncertainty was worse than anything else she could have said. 2 weeks later, Michael received a text from Rebecca. "We need to talk. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. at the Algonquin's lobby bar. It's important." Michael arrived 10 minutes early, sat at a table in the back, ordered a coffee he didn't touch, and waited. Rebecca entered on time, as always. She wore a pearl gray coat Michael hadn't seen before. She sat across from him without kissing him, without smiling. "Thanks for coming," she said. "You said it was important." Rebecca took an envelope from her purse and placed it on the table. "Lease documents. The contract is in your name. I've already moved my things out." Michael stared at the envelope without touching it. "You're leaving for good?" "Yes." "Is there someone else?" Rebecca took a moment to answer. "Yes, someone I met at a conference last month. His name is Jason. He has an import company, lives in San Francisco." Michael felt a sting, but it was more wounded pride than real pain. "How long have you been with him?" 3 weeks. Rebecca didn't look away. "I didn't cheat on you, Michael. I made the decision to leave before I started anything with him." "How noble of you." "I didn't come here to fight." Her voice was firm. "I came to end this with honesty." "Honesty?" Michael let out a bitter laugh. "Now you care about honesty." "I always cared." "I was never dishonest about what I wanted, Michael. From the beginning, I told you I liked to live well, to travel, to have a comfortable life. I never promised you till death do us part, or that I'd be there through thick and thin. But we were together for 4 years. Yes, and they were good years, while they lasted." Rebecca leaned forward. "But you changed. Or rather, your situation changed, and I didn't sign up for this." "For what? To be with someone who has problems? To be with someone who's broken inside and does nothing to fix himself?" Her words were like knives. "Michael, you don't need me. You need therapy. You need to face what you did to your family. You need to decide who you want to be. And you decided you didn't want to be around while I figured it out." "Exactly." There was no malice in her voice, only brutal sincerity. "Because I'm not your savior. I'm not your therapist. And I'm definitely not Natalie." The name landed like a bomb. What does Natalie have to do with this? Everything. Rebecca leaned back in her chair. It was always about her. "I was just an elegant distraction from what you really lost." Michael couldn't argue. "And now what? You're moving to San Francisco to start over?" "Yes. Jason offered me a job with him. Good position, good salary. He's a good man. Stable. Rich, you mean?" Rebecca smiled without humor. That too. I'm not going to apologize for knowing what I want, Michael, or for choosing someone who can give it to me without falling apart. She stood up, leaving money on the table for her untouched coffee. I wish you the best. I really do. I hope you find what you're looking for. Rebecca. Wait. She stopped. What? Michael looked at her, searching for the right words. Did you ever feel anything real for me? Rebecca thought for a moment. I felt admiration, attraction. I enjoyed your company. But love? She shook her head. No, and I don't think you ever really loved me, either. You're right. I know. Rebecca pulled on her gloves. Take care of yourself, Michael, and for God's sake, call your son. And she left. Michael sat alone in the bar, staring at the envelope with the lease papers. For the first time in years, he felt something like clarity. Rebecca was right, about everything. Michael spent the next few days alone in the penthouse. The silence was deafening. The plants on the terrace began to wither because the gardener had stopped coming. Bills piled up on the dining table. The refrigerator was empty. One night, sitting on the sofa with a warm beer, Michael took out his phone. He scrolled through old photos and found one of Natalie, pregnant, smiling against a sunset in upstate New York. He had taken it months before everything fell apart. And for the first time in years, he allowed himself to feel what he had been avoiding, regret. Not the superficial kind you apologize for with flowers and empty promises, but the kind that aches in your bones, that wakes you up at 3 a.m., that makes you wonder who you would be now if you had made different choices. He dialed Natalie's number. It rang 3 times. 4, 5. Michael? Her voice sounded confused, half asleep. Sorry to call so late. What's wrong? Are you okay? That simple question, filled with genuine concern, almost destroyed him. No, I'm not okay. There was a silence. What do you need? To talk. Just to talk. Michael, it's 2 a.m. I know, and I'm sorry. But I don't have anyone else. Natalie sighed. Rebecca left. She's gone. Where did she go? I don't know. She said she's tired of me. Another silence. Michael, I can't be your emotional safety net every time things get rough. I'm not asking for that. Then what are you asking me for? Michael closed his eyes. Natalie, I've been paying child support for 4 years. $4,000 a month, just like the court ordered. But I never tried to be more than a bank transfer. A long silence followed. I know, Michael. And Alex has clothes, food, and a roof over his head because of it. But money isn't presents. I know. That's why I'm calling. I wanted to hear your voice and know that Alex is okay. Alex is fine. He's 4. He goes to preschool, draws dinosaurs, and asks why the clouds move. Michael felt something break inside his chest. Does he ask about me? Natalie took a moment to answer. Sometimes. And what do you tell him? That his father is very busy, that he lives far away, that one day he'll meet him. Natalie, I have to go. Alex wakes up early. Wait, please. What? Can I see him? Just once. The silence that followed was long and heavy. We've been over this. You can't just pop in and out of his life whenever it's convenient for you. I don't want to pop in and out. I want to really try. You said that last time? This time is different. Why? Because you're alone? Because Rebecca left? Because your perfect life is falling apart? Michael had no answer, and that silence said everything. Good night, Michael. The call disconnected. Michael left the phone on the table, and for the first time in 4 years, he cried for everything he had lost and would never get back. Michael hadn't heard from Rebecca in 3 weeks. He had tried calling, sent messages, even went to her sister's apartment, but no one answered. The penthouse had become a mausoleum of expensive, empty memories. The company was still floundering. 2 more partners had jumped ship. Meetings with tax lawyers were relentless, and Michael, for the first time in his life, felt completely alone. It was a Friday afternoon when his office phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Mr. Thompson? This is Dr. Elizabeth Miller from Mount Sinai Hospital. Michael felt his stomach clench. Yes? We need you to come to the hospital as soon as possible. There is an urgent medical matter we need to discuss with you. A medical matter? I don't have any scheduled appointments. I know, but your recent lab work shows concerning results that require immediate attention. Michael frowned. I haven't had any recent lab work. According to our records, you had an executive physical 3 weeks ago at our private unit. Michael vaguely remembered. Rebecca had convinced him to get a full checkup, part of a health program she had signed them both up for. Yes, that's right. But they told me everything was fine. There was an administrative error. The full results were processed late and, Mr. Thompson, I really need you to come in. This is not something that can be discussed over the phone. The doctor's tone was firm but loaded with something Michael recognized, professional concern. When? Today, if possible. I have an opening at 7 p.m. Michael looked at the clock. It was 5:30. I'll be there. The hospital smelled of antiseptic and old coffee. Michael waited in a private consultation room, surrounded by pamphlets on healthy lifestyles that seemed to mock him. Doctor, Miller came in with a folder under her arm. She was a woman in her 50s, with thin-rimmed glasses and a serious expression. Mr. Thompson, thank you for coming so quickly. What's going on? She sat across from him and opened the folder. Your tests show elevated tumor markers, significantly elevated. Michael felt the air leave the room. Tumor markers? Yes, we've repeated the tests twice to be sure. We need to conduct more studies, an MRI, a biopsy, but the indicators point to an active oncological process. The word oncological echoed like a gunshot. Cancer. We can't confirm it 100% yet, but it's the most likely hypothesis. We need to act quickly. Michael stared at the pages filled with numbers and medical terms he didn't understand. What kind of cancer? Possibly pancreatic, though we need the tests to confirm. The doctor paused. Mr. Thompson, I'm going to be direct with you. If it's what we suspect, the prognosis depends on how advanced it is and how quickly we act. How much time? I can't know that until we have all the results, but every day counts. Michael nodded mechanically. When can I get the tests? Tomorrow morning. I've already reserved a slot. Okay. The doctor closed the folder and looked at him with a mix of professionalism and empathy. Mr. Thompson, do you have family? Someone who can support you through this process? Michael opened his mouth and realized he didn't know how to answer. He left the hospital in a state of shock. The streets of New York were full of people heading home from work, people with normal problems, with normal lives. Michael sat on a bench in Central Park and took out his phone. He dialed Rebecca's number. Voicemail. Rebecca, it's me. I need you to call me. It's urgent. He hung up. He waited an hour. 2. Nothing. Then he dialed another number. Michael? Natalie's voice was cautious. Hello? What is it now? Michael closed his eyes. I'm sick. There was a silence. What kind of sick? The serious kind. Cancer, probably. They're doing more tests tomorrow. He heard Natalie take a deep breath. Michael, I'm so sorry. I really am. Me too. Are you alone? Yes. Rebecca isn't answering. I think it's over between us. Natalie was quiet for a moment. Do you need anything? No. I just wanted you to know. In case, his voice broke, in case something happens to me, I need Alex to know that I existed, that even though I wasn't there, he was important. Michael, I know I have no right to ask you for anything. I know I screwed everything up. But please, when he's older, tell him I'm sorry. Natalie took a moment to reply. You're not going to die. You don't know that. No. But I'm going to believe you won't. Her voice softened. Do you want me to come? Michael felt something loosen in his chest. You would? Not for you. For Alex. Because one day he's going to ask me what I did when his father was sick, and I want to be able to tell him I was there. Thank you. I'll be there tomorrow afternoon. Send me the hospital address. Natalie, you don't have to do this. I know. But I'm going to do it anyway. The call disconnected. Michael sat on the bench, phone in hand, and for the first time in years, he felt something like hope. Not that everything would be okay, but that in the end, he might not be completely alone. The hospital waiting room was filled with people who looked like they had been there for an eternity. Michael had spent the morning undergoing tests, MRIs, biopsies, blood draws that left bruises on both arms. Now, he was waiting for the preliminary results. Sitting in an olive green plastic chair, staring at the worn linoleum floor, his phone vibrated. A text from Natalie. "I'm in the lobby." Michael felt his stomach clench. He hadn't seen her in over 4 years. He stood up on shaky legs and walked toward the main entrance. And there she was. Natalie had changed, but she was still herself. Her hair was shorter, with a few gray streaks she hadn't bothered to cover. She wore jeans, sneakers, and a terracotta-colored cardigan. No makeup, no jewelry. Next to her, holding her hand, was a small boy with dark eyes and tousled hair. Alex. Michael froze. Natalie saw him and walked toward him with firm but cautious steps. "Hi, Michael." "Hi." They looked at each other for a moment that felt eternal. Then Natalie gestured to the boy. "Alex, this is—" she hesitated. "This is Michael." The boy observed him with curiosity. "Are you Mommy's friend?" Michael felt something break inside his chest. Natalie knelt beside her son. "He's someone important, someone who wanted to meet you." Alex nodded, unconvinced, and clung to his mother's leg again. Michael swallowed hard, looking at the boy. Alex Thompson, his son. He had his last name, though he had never been present for it to mean anything more than letters on a document. "Thanks for coming. How are you feeling?" "Tired. The tests were intense." Natalie nodded. "When will you know the results?" "In a few hours. The doctor wants to see me this afternoon." "Okay." Natalie looked around. "Is there somewhere we can sit?" "There's a cafeteria on the second floor." The hospital cafeteria smelled of industrial coffee and plastic-wrapped pastries. Alex sat next to his mother, swinging his legs and staring in fascination at a candy vending machine. "Can I, Mom?" Natalie gave him $1. "Just one." The boy ran off. Michael and Natalie were left alone at the scratched formica table. "He's gotten so big," Michael said, watching Alex. 4.5. He's growing up too fast. "What's he like?" Natalie smiled with a mix of pride and exhaustion. "Curious. He asks about everything. He loves dinosaurs and building things with Legos. He's shy at first, but once he warms up, he never stops talking." Michael felt his throat tighten. "He looks like you. He has your eyebrows." Natalie looked at him directly. "And your habit of drumming your fingers when you're nervous." Michael looked down. Sure enough, he was drumming his fingers on the table. He stopped. "Natalie, She held up a hand. "We didn't come here for that. But I need you to know, Michael, if you're going to apologize, save it." Her voice was firm but not cruel. "I didn't come to hear regrets. I came because my son has a right to know his father. Even if that father was never there." The words hurt, but Michael accepted them. "You're right. I know I am." Alex ran back with a strawberry lollipop in his hand. "Look, Mom." "Very nice, sweetie, but save it for after lunch." The boy nodded and sat down again, now looking at Michael more closely. "Are you sick too?" Michael blinked. "Yes." "Does it hurt?" "Sometimes." Alex looked at him solemnly. "It hurt me a lot when I fell off the swing. Mommy put a Spider-Man Band-Aid on it." Michael couldn't help but smile. "And did it work?" "Yeah, Spider-Man Band-Aids are the best." Natalie stroked her son's hair. "Alex, why don't you go look at the fish in the aquarium by the entrance? It's right over there, see?" The boy nodded and ran off. Natalie waited until he was out of earshot before speaking. "I haven't told him who you are." "Why?" "Because I don't know if you're going to stay." She looked at him intently. "And I'm not going to let you hurt him." "Natalie, I want to be in his life." "Since when? Since yesterday? Since you got a diagnosis that scared you?" Michael had no defense. "You're right. I'm late. I'm showing up when I no longer have any right to be here." His voice broke. "But if I don't have much time left, I want him to know I existed. That even though I did everything wrong, he was never a mistake." Natalie closed her eyes. "Michael, you can't just show up now, build a bond with him, and then leave." "I don't want to leave." "You may not have a choice." The silence that followed was heavy, laden with truths neither wanted to speak. "What did the doctor say?" Natalie finally asked. "That it's serious, that it depends on how advanced it is, that the treatment will be hard. And Rebecca?" Michael let out a bitter laugh. "Rebecca disappeared weeks ago. I left her a message about the diagnosis. She never replied. Natalie looked at him with something like compassion. I'm sorry. I'm not. But I understand something now. Michael leaned forward. Rebecca never loved me. She loved what I represented, the money, the status, the comfortable life. And when that started to crumble, she left. And what did you feel for her? Michael took a moment to answer. Comfort. Admiration, maybe. But it was never... He paused. It was never what I had with you. Natalie looked away. It's too late for those conversations. I know. But I needed to say it. Alex came running back. Mom, there's a huge orange fish. Natalie smiled and lifted him into her arms. There is? And what else did you see? A blue fish, and one with stripes. Michael watched them, and in that moment, with painful clarity, he understood everything he had lost. Not just a son, but a family. A life that could have been real simple, imperfect, but true. And now, there might not be enough time to get it back. Only enough time to say goodbye to it. Dr. Miller didn't waste time. The diagnosis is stage 3 pancreatic cancer. It has spread to nearby lymph nodes, but it has not yet metastasized to other organs. Michael sat in the consultation room with Natalie by his side. Alex had stayed in the cafeteria with a nurse who had promised to show him the emergency carts. What does that mean? Michael asked. It means it's operable, but the prognosis is guarded. The doctor folded her hands on the desk. We need to perform surgery urgently, followed by aggressive chemotherapy. The treatment will be hard, very hard. How long? Between 6 and 8 months of treatment. Without it, you'd have less than a year, probably. The words landed like stones. Natalie clenched her fists in her lap. And if he undergoes the treatment? She asked. The doctor looked directly at Michael. The statistics aren't optimistic. The 5-year survival rate for this stage is approximately 20%. But every patient is different. I've seen miracles, and I've also seen failures. Michael nodded slowly. When do we start? The surgery is scheduled for 4 days from now. We need that time to prepare you, physically and emotionally. Then comes the chemo. Okay. The doctor leaned forward. Mr. Thompson, I need you to understand something. This treatment will change everything. Your work, your daily life, your energy. You are going to need support. Do you have someone who can be with you? Michael glanced at Natalie. She said nothing. I will, he answered, though he wasn't sure if it was true. They left the hospital in silence. Natalie walked, holding Alex's hand, who was hopping on the lines of the sidewalk tiles, oblivious to the gravity of the moment. Michael? The boy asked suddenly. Yeah? Are the doctors going to make you better? Michael stopped. He crouched down to be at the boy's level. They're going to try. My friend Dylan was sick, and the doctors fixed him. Now he plays soccer again. That's good. Alex looked at him with those dark eyes, so much like his own. I hope you get better too. Michael felt his throat tighten. Thanks, champ. Natalie gently tugged on Alex's hand. Come on, sweetie. We have to get back. We're going back to Havenwood tomorrow. We're staying in a hotel tonight. Michael stood up. Natalie, wait. She turned. What? Can we have dinner together? The 3 of us? Just for tonight? Natalie hesitated. Michael, please. I don't know how much more time. He stopped. I just want to spend some time with him, with you. Natalie looked at Alex, who was watching her with hope. Mom, can we? She sighed. Okay, but nothing fancy. Alex gets tired easily. I know a place near here. Simple, good for kids. The restaurant was a small Italian place in the East Village with red and white checkered tablecloths and a margarita pizza the owner claimed was the best in the city. Alex was thrilled. He got tomato sauce on his hands, ordered lemonade with a straw, and talked non-stop about the dinosaurs he had seen in a documentary. Did you know the T-Rex had really small arms? He said, gesturing with cheese-covered hands, but his teeth were this big. Michael smiled. I didn't know that. It's true. Mom confirmed it. Natalie patiently wiped Alex's hands with a napkin. I confirmed we saw it in the documentary, not that I'm an expert on dinosaurs. But you know everything, Mom. I wish, sweetie. Michael watched them with a mix of tenderness and pain. This was the life he had rejected. Simple dinners, conversations about dinosaurs, tomato-stained hands, genuine laughter. And he had chosen formal dinners, empty conversations, and a woman who never truly asked how he was. "What are you thinking about?" Natalie asked. Michael blinked. "Nothing. Just how much I've missed." Natalie didn't reply. Alex yawned. "Mom, I'm sleepy." "I know, sweetie. We're almost done." Michael paid the bill while Natalie helped Alex put on his jacket. They walked out into the street. The New York night was cool, with that characteristic smell of wet pavement and exhaust. "Where's your hotel?" Michael asked. "Near Penn Station." "I'll walk you." "You don't have to." "Please." Natalie looked at him for a long moment. "Okay." They walked in silence. Alex was half asleep, leaning against Natalie's leg. When they reached the hotel, Michael stopped at the entrance. "Thank you for tonight." "You don't have to thank me." "Yes, I do." Michael put his hands in his pockets. "Natalie, I know I have no right to ask this, but could I see Alex sometimes? Even just on a video call. I just want to be in his life, somehow." Natalie looked at her son, who had fallen asleep against her. "I'll think about it. That's all I ask." She nodded and went into the hotel without another word. Michael stood on the street, watching the automatic doors close, and for the first time, he understood something fundamental. There was no recovery possible, no going back. There were only consequences, and the only question that mattered was whether he would have enough time to accept them. The surgery lasted 6 hours. Michael woke up in a white room with tubes connected to his body and a pain that seemed to pierce him from side to side. The nurse explained that everything had gone as well as could be expected, but that recovery would be slow. Michael spent 3 days in the hospital. He called Rebecca one last time. "This time," she answered. "What do you want, Michael?" Her voice was cold, distant, as if she were speaking to a stranger. "I just wanted you to know they operated. I'm in the hospital." There was a silence. "I already know," Ethan told me. "And that's why you didn't come?" Rebecca let out a tired sigh. "Michael, this isn't going to work." "What? Us? You? Me? All of this?" Michael closed his eyes. "Because I'm sick. Because you're not the man I fell in love with." "You never fell in love with me, Rebecca. You fell in love with what I could give you." "Maybe." Her voice didn't waver. "But you didn't love me either. You used me to fill a void your ex-wife left." Michael couldn't argue, because it was true. "So, this is goodbye?" "Yes." Rebecca paused. "I wish you the best, Michael. I really do. But I'm not the person who's going to be by your side through this, and you know that." "I know. Take care." The call disconnected. Michael put the phone on the hospital nightstand, and for the first time since the diagnosis, he didn't feel anger, only acceptance. Rebecca had been clear from the beginning. She wanted a comfortable life, travel, status. She never promised eternal love or loyalty in difficult times. The mistake had been Michael's, for thinking that would be enough, for not seeing that he was building a life on sand. On the 4th day, he was discharged. Michael returned to the penthouse with a bag of medications and a list of medical instructions that seemed endless. The apartment was exactly as he had left it, but it felt different, empty in a way that went beyond Rebecca's absence. He opened the empty refrigerator, except for a forgotten beer and an expired yogurt. He sat on the sofa. The silence was deafening. His phone vibrated. A text from Natalie. "Alex is asking about you. I told him you were recovering. Do you want a video call?" Michael felt something loosen in his chest. "I'd love that." 5 minutes later, the screen lit up with Alex's face. "Hi, Michael." "Hey, champ. How are you?" "Good. I drew a stegosaurus at school today. My teacher said it was really good." "I'm sure it was." "You're not in the hospital anymore?" "No. I'm home now." "Does it hurt?" Michael smiled despite the pain. "A little, but less every day. Mom says you have to rest a lot." "Your mom is right." Natalie appeared in the frame, sitting next to Alex. "How are you feeling?" "Tired, but okay. Have you eaten anything?" "Not yet." Natalie frowned. "Michael, you have to eat. Your body needs strength to recover." "I know. I just don't have much in the fridge. Do you want me to order you something?" "No. I can manage." There was an awkward silence. Alex yawned. "Mom, I'm sleepy." "Okay, sweetie, go brush your teeth. I'll be right there." Alex waved goodbye and ran off. Natalie was left alone in front of the camera. "Michael, you have to take care of yourself." "I will." "Do you have anyone who can help you? A friend? Family?" Michael took a moment to answer. "No. My family lives in Ohio, and we haven't spoken in years. And friends, well, Ethan asks how I'm doing now and then, but he has his own life, and Rebecca, it's officially over." Natalie nodded without surprise. "I'm sorry." "I'm not." Michael leaned back on the sofa. "In the end, she did what she had to do. She was honest. More than I ever was with you." The comment stung, but Michael accepted it. "You're right." Natalie sighed. "Listen, Michael, I'm not getting back together with you. I'm not going to forgive what happened." She paused. "But I'm not going to leave you alone in this." "What do you mean?" "I mean, you can call when you need to talk. Alex can call you. And if you need help with anything medical, you can tell me." "Natalie, you don't have to." "I know, but I'm going to do it anyway." She looked at him intently. "Not for you, for Alex. Because one day he's going to ask me what I did when his father was sick, and I want to be able to tell him the truth." Michael felt his eyes well up with tears. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet." Natalie stood up. "I have to put Alex to bed. Take care of yourself." The call ended. Michael stared at the black screen, and for the first time in his life, he understood something fundamental. Forgiveness wasn't reconciliation. It was offering the chance to close wounds with dignity, and that was more than he deserved. The chemotherapy was exactly as brutal as they had warned. Michael lost his hair in the 3rd week. His appetite vanished. The days became a succession of nausea, extreme fatigue, and sleepless nights. The penthouse, once a symbol of success, now felt like a luxury prison cell. Ethan came by occasionally, bringing food Michael could barely touch and engaging in awkward conversations about how business was going without him. "The firm is surviving," Ethan would say, not looking at him directly. "But we miss you." Michael knew it was a kind lie. The company had moved on without him, just as it would move on when he was gone. The video calls with Alex became the only thing he looked forward to. The boy would show him his drawings, tell him stories from school, and ask him questions about dinosaurs that Michael answered with what little energy he had left. "Michael, why don't you have any hair?" Alex asked one day with the brutal honesty of a child. "Because the medicine I'm taking made it fall out. But it will grow back, right? Like when my tooth fell out and a new one grew in? Something like that." "Oh. Well, then it's no big deal." Michael smiled. To Alex, everything had a solution. Teeth grew back, hair grew back, sick people got better. If only it were that simple. 6 months after the diagnosis, Michael returned to the hospital for a follow-up evaluation. Dr. Miller reviewed the results with a serious expression. "The tumor has partially responded to the treatment. It has shrunk, but not enough, and new spots have appeared on your liver." Michael felt the floor disappear from under him. Metastasis. Yes, small, but present. The doctor put down the papers. "Michael, we need to talk about options." "What options?" "We can continue with more aggressive chemotherapy, but the side effects will be severe, and the chances of complete remission are low, less than 5%. "And if I do nothing?" "Months. Maybe a year, if you're lucky." Michael leaned back in his chair. "Quality of life? Without treatment, you'll have progressive pain, which we will manage with medication. The last few months will be difficult, but you'll be conscious and functional until near the end. With aggressive chemo, the side effects could incapacitate you much sooner. Then it's decided." The doctor looked at him with understanding. "Do you want a second opinion?" "No," Michael shook his head. "I want to live what I have left, not survive connected to machines." "That's a brave decision." "No, it's a selfish decision," Michael stood up. "But it's the only one I can make." That night, Michael called Natalie. She answered on the second ring. "Michael, are you okay? Can you come to the city? I need to talk to you." "What happened?" "Nothing urgent. I just need to see you." Natalie was quiet for a moment. "I'll be there tomorrow." They met on the same bench in Central Park where Michael had sat the day he received the diagnosis. The park was full of people, jogging, walking dogs, living normal lives. Natalie arrived with a coffee for herself and one for Michael. "I wasn't sure if you still drank it." "Thanks." They sat in silence, watching the pond. "The tests weren't good," Michael finally said. Natalie closed her eyes. "How long?" "A year, maybe less. And the treatment? I'm going to stop it. I want to live what I have left, not spend it chained to a hospital." Natalie nodded slowly. "And what are you going to do?" Michael took a sip of his coffee. It was bitter, but he liked it. "I want to meet my son. For real. Spend time with him, even if it's only for a few months." "Michael, I know it's a lot to ask. I know I have no right. But please, Natalie, let me try." Natalie turned to him. "And what happens when Alex gets attached to you, and then you're gone? How do I explain that to him?" "You explain the truth. That his father made mistakes, that he showed up late, but that in the last months of his life, the only thing he wanted was to be with him." Natalie wiped a tear from her eye with the back of her hand. "I hate that you're doing this to me. I know. I hate that you're showing up now, when there's no time left. I know. And I hate that even so, I can't say no to you." Michael looked at her, surprised. Natalie sighed. "You can come to Havenwood, on weekends. Alex can get to know you better. But on one condition, anything. When the time comes, when you can't go on anymore, you tell me, so I can prepare Alex. So the goodbye isn't a trauma." Michael nodded, his voice cracking. "I promise." Natalie stood up. "Come this Saturday. Alex has a soccer game at school. He'd love for you to be there." "Really? He talks about you constantly. Asks when you're going to come visit." Natalie looked at him. "I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, but it's what I feel I have to do." Michael stood up and, without thinking, hugged her. Natalie was stiff for a moment, then she hugged him back. "Thank you," Michael whispered. "Don't thank me. I still don't know if I'm going to regret this." They separated. Natalie walked away through the trees of the park, and Michael stood there, watching her disappear into the crowd. For the first time in months, he felt something like peace. Not because he had fixed the past, but because maybe, just maybe, there was still time to create a few new memories, even if they were the last ones. The weekends that mattered. First weekend, November. Michael arrived in Havenwood by train with a small backpack and a box of dinosaur toys he had bought in a store in the city. Alex opened the door, and his eyes lit up when he saw the box. "Dinosaurs! I thought we could play together." They spent the afternoon on the living room floor, building a prehistoric world with cushions for mountains and blankets for swamps. "This is the T-Rex," Alex explained seriously. "He's the boss. But this other one, the Velociraptor, he's smarter. And who wins?" Alex looked at him as if it were obvious. Nobody wins. They become friends. Michael smiled. Natalie watched them from the kitchen with a cup of tea in her hands and an expression Michael couldn't decipher. That night, when they tucked Alex in, the boy asked him, "Michael, are you coming next weekend?" "If you want me to." "I do." Second weekend, late November. Michael taught Alex to play chess on an old board Natalie had stored away. The boy didn't understand the rules, so they made up their own. The pawns could jump, the rooks became castles with princesses inside, and the king had to escape from the dragon, the queen. "My princess tower captured your knight," Alex shouted, moving the pieces with no order at all. "That's not fair. You said we could make up the rules." Michael laughed. He hadn't laughed like that in months. After dinner, while Natalie was giving Alex a bath, Michael washed the dishes. She came into the kitchen and found him looking out the window. "What are you thinking about?" "That these last few weekends have been..." He searched for the words. "I don't know. Real, simple, good." Natalie leaned against the counter. "Alex is getting attached to you. Is that bad?" "I don't know yet," she was honest. "It depends on how much time we have left with you." Michael nodded. "I'm going to make the most of every day I can." Third weekend, early December. It was cold. Natalie suggested they go for a walk on a trail overlooking the Hudson Valley, a walk Alex loved. They walked along the path with Alex running ahead, collecting rocks and sticks. "Look, Michael, this rock is shaped like a heart." "Keep it. It's special." The boy carefully put it in his jacket pocket. They reached a lookout point. The view was spectacular, the river winding between the cliffs, bare trees, a gray winter sky. Alex sat on a bench, swinging his legs. "Michael, does it hurt?" Michael sat next to him. Natalie stood a few feet away, giving them space. "Sometimes, but the doctors give me medicine to make it hurt less." "And are you going to get better?" Michael swallowed. "I don't know, champ. The doctors are doing everything they can." Alex looked at him with those dark eyes, so much like his own. "I pray for you every night." Michael felt his throat close up. "You do?" "Yeah. I ask God to heal you, so you can come visit more often." Michael hugged him. Alex clung to him tightly. When they separated, the boy had tears in his eyes. "I don't want you to go." "I don't either, champ. I don't either." Natalie came over and put a hand on Michael's shoulder. She didn't say anything. She didn't have to. December arrived with a biting cold and gray skies over Havenwood. Michael had spent the last few weeks traveling between New York City and Havenwood every weekend, clinging to every moment with Alex as if they were diamonds. But his body was starting to demand payment. It was a Friday afternoon when Michael called Natalie from the city. "I'm not going to be able to make it this weekend." "Are you okay?" "Yeah, just tired. The doctor says I need to rest." There was a silence. "Michael, tell me the truth. What's going on?" He looked out his apartment window. The city stretched out, gray and distant. "The pain is getting worse. The painkillers aren't working as well as they used to." "How much time do you have left?" Michael closed his eyes. "Weeks. Maybe a month, if I'm lucky." He heard Natalie take a deep breath. "Come stay here." "What?" "In Havenwood. Bring your things. Stay with us." "Natalie, I can't ask you to do that." "You're not asking. I'm offering." Her voice was firm. "You're not going to die alone in that empty apartment in the city. And Alex deserves to be with you for as long as possible." Michael felt his throat tighten. "Are you sure?" "No, but it's the right thing to do." 3 days later, Michael arrived in Havenwood with 2 suitcases and a bag full of medications. Natalie had prepared the guest room for him. It was small, simple, with a single bed and a window that looked out onto an inner courtyard. Nothing like the penthouse in the city, but it was a home. "Thank you," Michael said, setting down his bags. "The rules are clear," Natalie said. "Alex can't see you when you're really sick. I don't want his last memory of you to be—" "I understand. And if the time comes when you need to go to the hospital, you tell me. No heroics." "Okay." Natalie nodded and left the room. Michael sat on the bed, looking around. For the first time in months, he didn't feel alone. The first few weeks were strangely normal. Michael would get up late, have breakfast with Natalie after she took Alex to school, and they would spend the mornings in a comfortable silence. She would grade papers at the dining table. He would read or look out the window. They didn't talk much. They didn't need to. In the afternoons, when Alex came home from school, Michael would gather his strength. They would play with dinosaurs, draw pictures, watch nature documentaries. "Michael, what's your favorite animal?" Alex asked one afternoon, lying on the sofa next to him. "I don't know. I've never thought about it. Mine's the elephant, because it has a good memory and never forgets its family." Michael swallowed. "That's a good animal." Alex snuggled against him. "I don't want to forget you." "You won't, champ. I promise." But the pain grew worse. Some days, Michael couldn't get out of bed. Natalie would bring him breakfast, help him with his medications, and sit beside him in silence. "You don't have to do this," Michael would say. "I know." "Why then?" Natalie took a moment to answer. "Because even though I don't love you anymore, I don't hate you either. And nobody deserves to die alone." One night, Michael heard voices in the hallway. Alex was crying. "But I want to see him, Mom." "Sweetie, Michael isn't feeling well today. Is he going to die?" Natalie was quiet for a moment. "Yes, honey. Someday, yes. When? I don't know. But while he's with us, we're going to take care of him." "Okay. Okay." Michael closed his eyes, tears rolling down his cheeks. Christmas came quietly. Natalie put up a small tree in the living room. Alex decorated it with mismatched ornaments and a crooked star on top. Michael watched them from the sofa, wrapped in blankets. "Want to help?" Alex asked. "I don't have much strength, champ. Can you put this one here?" He handed him a red ornament. It's the prettiest one. Michael hung it with trembling hands on the lowest branch. Perfect, Alex said, smiling. On Christmas morning, Alex gave him a drawing. It was Michael, Natalie, and him, holding hands under a yellow sun. It's us, Alex explained. A family. Michael carefully saved the drawing as if it were the most valuable thing in the world. Because it was. New Year's came without fireworks. Natalie put Alex to bed early, then sat with Michael on the sofa with 2 untouched glasses of champagne. I didn't think I'd make it to January, Michael said. Me neither. Thank you for these months, for letting me be a part of his life. Natalie looked at him. I didn't do it just for you, Michael. I did it for Alex, and for me, because I needed to close this chapter with peace. Did you find it? She nodded slowly. I think so. I'm not angry anymore, just sad. Me too. They sat in silence, watching the clock strike midnight. When the chimes ended, Natalie raised her glass to endings that hurt but heal. Michael clinked his glass against hers, to endings that hurt but heal. The first week of January, Michael's condition worsened drastically. The pain was constant. He could no longer get up without help. He barely ate. You need to go to the hospital, Natalie said one morning, finding him pale and sweating. No, not yet. Michael, please, just a few more days. I want to be here. Natalie closed her eyes. Okay, but if you get any worse, I won't have a choice. I know. Alex stopped going to school during those days. He spent the afternoons drawing silently in the living room, casting worried glances toward Michael's room. Can we play dinosaurs? He asked one afternoon. Natalie shook her head. Michael is resting, sweetie. But we played yesterday. I know. But today he needs to sleep. Alex nodded, his eyes filled with tears he was trying to hold back. Mom, are you going to tell me when it's going to happen? When Michael is going to go away? Natalie knelt beside him. Yes, sweetie, I promise I will. So you can say goodbye. And after that, we're going to remember him. And we're going to be okay. The two of us, together. One night, Michael woke up to find Natalie sitting in the chair next to his bed. What are you doing here? Taking care of you. You don't have to. I know. She adjusted his blankets. But I want to be here when... She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Michael reached out his hand. Natalie took it. Natalie, I need you to know something. What? These last few months have been the most important of my life. Not because of what I had, but because of what I gave. For being present. For being a father, even if it was late. Natalie nodded, tears in her eyes. I know, Michael. And Alex will know too. You'll tell him? When he's older? You'll tell him that in the end, I tried? I'll tell him. I promise. Michael closed his eyes, feeling the pain dull just a little. Thank you for everything. For letting me be loved again. For forgiving me without forgetting. For being a better person than I ever deserved. Natalie leaned in and kissed his forehead. Rest, Michael. And for the first time in weeks, Michael slept peacefully, knowing that when the end came, he would not be alone. January 15th dawned gray and cold in Havenwood. Michael had had a difficult night. He was breathing with difficulty, drifting in and out of consciousness. At 6 a.m., Natalie called the doctor. He doesn't have much longer, Dr. Ruiz said after examining him. It's a matter of hours. Should I take him to the hospital? Leave him here, Natalie said. It's what he wants. The doctor nodded and left pain medication. Call me if you need anything. I'll be nearby. At 8 a.m., Natalie woke Alex. Sweetie, come with me. The boy rubbed his eyes. What's wrong, Mom? Natalie knelt in front of him, holding his hands. Michael is very, very sick today. He's probably going to go away today. Alex's eyes filled with tears. To heaven? Yes. Can I say goodbye? Natalie nodded. Yes, but you have to be brave, okay? He won't be able to talk much. He's very tired. Alex got dressed in silence, tears rolling down his cheeks. They entered the room together. Michael was lying down, pale as wax, his eyes half closed. When he saw Alex, he tried to smile. Hey, champ. Alex approached the bed, climbed up carefully, and snuggled next to Michael. I don't want you to go. Michael raised his hand with effort and stroked the boy's hair. I don't want to go either. Does it hurt a lot? Not anymore. I almost don't feel anything now. Alex clung to him. Will you watch me from heaven? Always. Michael breathed with difficulty. I'll be at every soccer game, with every ice cream cone, in every dinosaur drawing. Really? Really. Alex stayed hugged to him for a long time. Then Natalie gently touched his shoulder. Sweetie, let Michael rest a little. But you can come back later, I promise. Alex sat up, wiped his tears, and kissed Michael's cheek. I love you, Michael. Michael closed his eyes, tears falling down his temples. I love you too, champ. Natalie led Alex out of the room. The boy stayed in the living room, drawing with trembling hands. Natalie went back to the room and sat next to Michael. Is Alex okay? He said. He's drawing. Michael nodded weakly. Thank you for letting me know him. Thank you for trying. Natalie took his hand. I know you were late, but I also know you tried. Michael looked at her with glassy eyes. Natalie? Yes? Do you think, in the end, I was a good father? Natalie squeezed his hand. You were the father you could be, and that's a lot. Michael closed his eyes, letting out a trembling sigh. I'm scared. I know. But you're not alone. I'm here. Can you stay until... I'm staying. I'm not moving. The hours passed slowly. Michael drifted in and out of consciousness. Sometimes he murmured nonsensical things. Sometimes he squeezed Natalie's hand. Sometimes he just breathed. Slower and slower. At 3 inches the afternoon, he opened his eyes one last time. Natalie. I'm here. Tell Alex. His father always loved him. I'll tell him. Michael smiled faintly. And you were the only one. He didn't finish the sentence. His hand went limp in Natalie's. His chest stopped moving. And Michael Thompson passed away at 3:23 p.m., surrounded by the woman who had once loved him and the peace it had taken him so long to find. Natalie sat for a moment, holding his hand. Then, carefully, she closed Michael's eyes. Rest, she whispered. It doesn't hurt anymore. She left the room with slow steps. Alex was sitting on the sofa with the finished drawing in his hands. When he saw his mother's face, he knew. He's gone? Natalie nodded, kneeling beside him. Yes, sweetie, he's gone. Alex began to cry. Natalie hugged him tightly, letting her own tears fall in silence. Did it hurt? No. He was peaceful, and thinking of you. Can I see him? Natalie hesitated. Are you sure? Alex nodded. They entered the room together. Michael looked asleep, calm, at peace. Alex approached and placed the drawing in his hands. Michael, Natalie, and him, holding hands under a yellow sun. So you can have it in heaven, he whispered. And they left in silence. The funeral was small. Ethan came from the city. A few colleagues from the business world sent expensive wreaths with impersonal messages. Rebecca did not appear, nor did she send a message. Natalie was not surprised. At the cemetery, as they lowered the coffin, Alex asked her, Mom, is Michael in heaven now? Natalie knelt beside him. Yes, sweetie. And he's not in pain anymore? No. He's not in any pain at all. Alex nodded thoughtfully. Can I bring him flowers sometimes? Of course you can. The boy stared at the grave. I wish I had known him sooner. Natalie felt her heart break. He did too, sweetie. He did too. 2 weeks after the funeral, a certified letter arrived at Natalie's house. It was from Michael's lawyer. Inside was a letter and some legal documents. Natalie opened the letter with trembling hands. Dear Natalie, if you are reading this, it means I'm gone. I know I have no right to ask you for anything else. You already gave me far more than I deserved. Time with my son, dignity in my final days, and the chance to try to be a father, however late. I have left instructions for the apartment in the city to be sold. After paying off the business debts, medical expenses, and estate taxes, there should be about $85,000 left, which will go entirely into an account in Alex Thompson's name. It's not the fortune I once had, but it should be enough for his college education when the time comes. I don't want you to think I'm trying to buy something with this. I can't buy back the years I lost. I can't buy his childhood. I just want him to have opportunities I squandered. I'm also leaving something for you, Not money, because I know you wouldn't accept it, but a truth I need you to know. You were the only woman who ever truly loved me, and I was too much of a coward to value it. Rebecca gave me comfort, luxury, a life that looked perfect from the outside, but she never asked how I really was. She was never there in the difficult moments. She never knew me. You did, and I ruined it all. I don't expect you to forgive me. I only hope that one day, when Alex asks about me, you can tell him that his father finally understood what really mattered. Not the money, not the status, not the appearances, but the love that stays, the kind that doesn't run when things get hard. The kind that builds simple memories, soccer games, ice cream cones, afternoons with dinosaurs. Thank you for giving me those last few months. They were the most valuable of my life. Take care of our son. Tell him I loved him from the moment I knew he existed, even if I didn't know how to show it. With all my regret and my gratitude. Michael. Natalie left the letter on the table. She cried. Not for the man Michael had been for most of their relationship, but for the man he could have been if he had chosen differently. Years later, when Alex was 12, he asked his mother about his father. Natalie showed him photos, told him stories, and gave him the letter Michael had written. Was he a good person, Mom? Natalie considered her answer carefully. Your father made mistakes, Alex. Big mistakes. He chose things that glittered on the outside but were empty on the inside, and it cost him a great deal. Did he love us? Yes. Late. But yes. And in his last months, he tried to prove it. Alex looked at the photo of Michael at the soccer game, smiling in the stands. I wish I'd had more time with him. Natalie hugged her son. He did too, sweetie. He did too. Michael Thompson had everything many desire. Money, success, a life of luxury. But he lost the only thing that truly mattered. Time with the people who genuinely loved him. Rebecca never reappeared. She moved on with her life, found another successful man, and repeated the same pattern. Because for her, people were always interchangeable. What mattered was the lifestyle. Michael learned too late that real love isn't the kind that shines. It's the kind that stays when everything else falls apart. It's the one that holds your hand in a hospital room. It's the one that forgives without forgetting. It's the one that gives you one last chance to do things right, even when there isn't enough time left. The decisions we make today build the life we will have tomorrow. We can choose what glitters, what impresses, what makes us feel important on the outside. Or we can choose what is real, what sustains us, what remains when everything else disappears. Michael chose poorly and paid the highest price, living without what truly mattered and dying knowing he was too late. Rebecca never had to pay anything because she never promised love, only convenience. And convenience doesn't leave scars, only emptiness. Regret doesn't heal what abandonment destroyed, but the dignity of trying, even late, does matter.